So guys, for this tutorial we are going to be looking at variables and how to name your variables correctly. Okay, let me just say that my name is Ogochukwu. Okay, and I go on to print my name, which is Ogochukwu. You should be familiar with this code. So this is the code printing Ogochukwu on the console because I assign my name to Ogochukwu. Okay, so at this point, if I said that name is Ben, if I said that name is Ben, and I want on to print name, so you will see that it will print name differently for small letters and then name differently for capital letters. So you are seeing Ogochukwu here and you are seeing Ben. So if I also proceed and say something like name like this, and I say John, something like this, and I go on to print that name like this, so you will see everything is just as it is supposed to be. But one thing you should now know is that this name is different from this name and is also different from this name. So once their variable names are different, they are actually going to be very different. But if I named all of them name like this, okay, now it means I have to change this to name and I have to change this to name. So if I run this code, you will just see John printed on the console, and this is because Python runs code from top to bottom. I've said this before. So for the first time, name was Ogochukwu, and then on the second line, I changed name to Ben. On the third line, I changed it to John, and then I printed name, and name. So Python is just going to assume the last thing, the last assignment that was given to name, and it will take it up, and that is why you're seeing John. But if for any reason I said print name here and print name here, you're now going to see that I will have Ogochukwu, Ben, John. So the first Ogochukwu you are seeing is because of this name. So at first on line 1, Python said, okay, this name is actually going to represent Ogochukwu, and then you asked it to print the name, so it will print Ogochukwu. Then on line 4, you now said, okay, that name is Ben, and you now ask it to print that name, it will print what? Ben. Then on line 7, you said again that name is John, and you ask it to print name. So it's going to print John, because that is the value that was assigned to name. And that is exactly how a Python program understands their variable naming. So one thing you can do is, if you wanted to say you want to name two different people, you can say name 1 and name 2 and call this one John. Okay, so that way you make your code different, you make your variable name different. So we know that name 1 is Ogochukwu and name 2 is what? John. So if I print name 1, you're going to see Ogochukwu. Now I'm going to now go over how to name correctly, and you cannot say something like this, first name. Okay, we already seen an error. Now you are seeing this error because we began this naming with a number. So to name correctly in Python, you don't have to, you should not, okay, let me put it that way, you should not start with a number. So once you start your name with a number, you have an error. But the number can be anywhere inside the naming. It doesn't matter where it is. The only thing is that let it not start it at all. So you can see that I don't have any problems because my numbers are inside the naming, not actually beginning them, so I will not have any problem. Now the next thing to note is that while naming, a special character cannot be inside your code, inside your naming, your variable name. You can see I put an exclamation mark and I'm getting an error. So if I put any special character, I will always get an error. And special characters also include um, spaces. So you cannot have name of brother like this and you say Ogochukwu. So the way to fix this is by using the only special character that is accepted in Python, which is the underscore. So if I go on to print name of Ogochukwu, name of brother rather, you will see I have Ogochukwu on the console. So if for any reason you want to space your variable name, this is the correct way to do it. Or you can do it like this: name of brother, and then you have say Ben. Okay, so this way you are also making your code readable, so that somebody that comes here and sees this will read it as name of brother. Because if you write this thing as name of brother, it's going to look rather unreadable. So the best way to name something like this is either you use line 1 or line 2. That is the best thing to do. And line 1 is referred to as the snake naming convention, and line 2 is referred to as the camel case naming convention. So these are some small terminologies you need to be conversant with. Now, let's say I want to now say that I'm in JSS1. So I can say that my class, wait, I'm having an error. Let's just finish it with it. I'm in JSS2, and then I want to print my class. Wow, I'm having errors. Wait, I said my class is JSS2, and I'm now printing my class. Why am I now having error? Well, don't mind me, that is just me playing around. I'm being very dramatic. So why this is happening is because class is actually a Python reserved keywords. Now in Python programming there are 35 reserved keywords. I cannot start naming all of them for you, but in the PDF that I shared, you will see all 35 of them. Okay, so there are 35 reserved keywords in Python, and you don't just use them carelessly, because if you ever use them carelessly, that is in the syntax, you use them in the syntax they are not supposed to follow, Python will start shouting at you, telling you that you're doing something wrong, which is exactly the shouting that we noticed here when I said class equal to this. So this is actually wrong, because class cannot be used as a variable name, and that is because it is a Python reserved keyword. So like I said, there are 35 Python reserved keywords, and you don't need to use any of them for naming your variables. So we have class, we have for. I can't list 35 of them, but I'll just just list them out just for you to see. We have width. I think width is supposed to be there. Okay, yes, we have while, we have try. I cannot list everything. Let me just, in order not to elongate the video. So there are 35 of them. If you read the PDF, if you search online, you will see all 35 of them. But now the thing you need to understand is that you cannot start using 35 of them as as a beginner. So bit by bit, we'll be explaining each of, okay, how you can use them in your codes, you know. So you will now understand how to use them in your codes. Not like we'll treat them as a separate topic, but you just understand how to use them, when to use them, so that you will speak correct languages that the Python compiler will understand. So that is the aim, to speak languages that the computer will understand. So that is how you name variables, what to do and what not to do. So we've seen all those things, and then you've seen the reserved keywords. And for each, let me just make So one good thing, I just made a statement now. So one good thing about IDEs is that they color your stuffs for you, so you can see them in different colors. So this for now is a reserved keyword, this is a reserved keyword, this is a function. So all IDEs generally will try to color their, will just be coloring their functions and keywords and all. So when you see a reserved keyword, there will be a particular color it will carry. Just like when I say that name is, when I say for instance that name is Ben, and then I do class like this is equal to something like uni. Okay, so this you will notice that this blue here and this other color is not the same because this is a reserved keyword. Even if I use 4, you can see is not the same. But if I use like D, you will notice that this color D is the same as this name here on top because they are all variable names. So that is how you can correctly name variables in Python, how you can handle naming variables and all. So this way you would correctly communicate with your Python compiler and make powerful scripts in the future. So just understand all these basics, and please, 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 whatever question you have, the tiniest of questions, write it down. When you're done with the video and you're still confused, you can let me know, okay, and we'll handle it together. And that is it for this video, guys. Thank you so much. If at all I wanted to say that my class that I'm in JSS2 like this, I'm in JSS2, if at all it was really necessary I said I'm in JSS2, I'll now say print class. So there are a few ways I can do this. Now one way I can do this is just making it different by adding maybe an underscore if you want. So if I add an underscore, it tells us that we are not using the class as in the normal class name, which is keyword. So you just try and name it differently from the normal Python class that you know, so that you will not get an error. So if I run this code now, you will see that I will have JSS2. So whatever you do, don't name your variables with Python reserved keywords, so that you will not have any problem. And then there's one important thing I want to point out. There are special functions in Python you need to be conversant with, and the first one I ever introduced you to is the print function. So do not for any reason name your variables like somebody will now come and say print, and now say print is equal to JSS2, and you're now saying print JSS2 when you know that this print is a function. Yes, it is not a keyword, but why go and name something, like use a name that is already a function name, you know it is a function name, and you will now use that particular name, that function name, as a variable. You are just going to spoil your whole code. Or something like type, let's just say type, and we say that type is equal to JSS2. I want to print type of something like boy. This may work, this may not work, I'm not sure yet, but it doesn't make sense. Okay, see, I'm even getting an error. Okay, that is because I said type is equal to, let's just say male. Let me put it like this, and I'm saying type of type. You see, it doesn't make sense. It's as if I'm joking with myself. So but what you can do is that you can now, since you know that if it's a must that you use type, as in you must use type, so what you can simply do is that you differentiate it from the normal type, which is a function, so that when you print type of this, you can now get str. Okay, So that is the most logical thing to do. So instead of naming variables with you have a function name, instead of naming them just like that and causing problems for yourself, you can just find a way and differentiate it. It must not be typed like this, it can be like this, it can just be anything you want. So provided that it is not the same as any of the functions inside Python or any of the reserved keywords. So just try and make it different from what they already have, so that you will not be causing problems and be causing errors for yourself. Okay, I've actually talked a lot. So that is it for this video. I went over the variable, how to name variables correctly, what to do and what not to do. And I think this video is actually very simple. I'm just giving you tips on how to become a very good Python programmer. And that will be it for this video. I would stop here for now until the next video. Peace.